Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Hurricane, and it's time for me to reveal the team I'll be taking control of in my Madden 16 connected franchise. This is my 5th franchise series I'll be doing on my channel. It all began back in Madden 12 with my Minnesota Vikings franchise that really got me started here on YouTube. From there I went to the Raiders in Madden 13, the Rams in Madden 25, the Carolina Panthers in Madden 15, and now this year, who will be my 5th franchise team? I've put a ton of thought into who my team is going to be this year. Those that are familiar with my franchise series know that I love to draft. I'm a team builder, so I wanted to find a roster that needed some work. In my last couple franchise series, I've began with a lot of talent on my roster, especially last year with Carolina. So this year I definitely wanted more of a rebuilding project. And I believe I found a team that's going to be a lot of fun to build. The wait is over. Here is my Madden 16 franchise team. The Jacksonville Jaguars are the team I'll be taking control of in Madden 16. I'm finally back in the AFC after 2 straight years in the NFC. And now I'm in the AFC South taking control of the Jaguars, who haven't enjoyed a winning season since 2007, when they did win their last playoff game. But over the last 3 seasons, the Jaguars haven't won more than 4 games, including a 3-13 campaign last year. The Jaguars do have some good young players on the roster, but they don't have a lot of proven talent. When I begin this franchise, I won't have a lot of star players. Julius Thomas and Derek Marks are the 2 highest rated players on the team. When I see this roster, I see a very young team that I can both develop and improve upon. And that begins at quarterback. Is Blake Bortles the answer in Jacksonville? He didn't have a very good rookie season. He will get a fair shot with me, but it's unknown whether he's the long-term answer. At running back, the Jaguars spent a high 2nd round pick on TJ Yeldon. Last year their leading rusher was Denard Robinson. Is the next premier back for the Jaguars on this roster? We'll find out. The Jaguars have some young receiver talent with Allen Robinson, Marquise Lee, and Allen Hurns. Can they develop into a solid wide receiver core? The Jaguars made a free agent splash in signing Julius Thomas. It was a 5-year, $46 million contract. Can Thomas be the dominant receiving threat this team needs? I like the youth and potential of this Jaguars offensive line, but can they handle 4 games a year against the likes of Jarrell Casey and JJ Watt? We will also have to see if Luke Joeckel develops into the franchise tackle he was drafted to be. On defense, the Jaguars suffered a major injury during the offseason to 1st round pick Dante Fowler. I will have pre-existing injuries turned on, so I won't get to use Fowler in year 1. I still have Derek Marks and Jarek Odrick, 2 good pieces on that defensive line. At linebacker, there are veterans Dan Skuta and Paul Posluszny in the middle, and then at weak side linebacker, I have the run and chase ability of Telvin Smith and his speed. Smith racked up 104 tackles last year. I like to build around players like him. In the secondary, the Jaguars have Devon House, Dwayne Gratz, and Demetrius McCray as their top corners. There's still a lot of work to do here in the secondary, whether it be developing these players or replacing them. At safety, the Jaguars have Sergio Brown and strong safety Jonathan Cyprien, who led the team in tackles last year with 114. That is a quick look at the roster, and now you're going to see some gameplay with the Jaguars against the Texans as I talk more about what I want to do with this franchise and how I envision the franchise kind of going once we begin it. First off, I will look to begin this franchise as soon as possible. I am not waiting on week 1 rosters. I'm okay with the preseason rosters at the moment, but I will be taking a look at slider sets and trying to find the right slider set to play with in my franchise this year. So hopefully we are up and running in the Jaguars franchise in the next week to 2 weeks. I'll have to see how slider testing goes, and then if we can begin it earlier than I have in the past couple years. This means that I will be running the Jaguars franchise side by side with my franchise on Madden 15 with the Panthers until the Panthers season is finished. Now, I know in the past I've done a really poor job getting that last franchise season on the previous game wrapped up, So I'm putting together an upload schedule that will keep that on track and get it wrapped up in a timely fashion so we can focus on Madden 16 and Madden 16 only as soon as possible. And I'll be sharing that on Twitter once I get that figured out. My goal with this franchise is to finish at least 5 seasons by this time next year. I really want to go deeper into franchise this year and give you guys the most entertaining franchise series possible. I would like to do 6 seasons, and we'll see if I can accomplish that over the next year. But the target is at least 5 years in the Jaguars franchise. I'm really excited to begin this series. I haven't done a rebuilding project like this on Madden in a while. With the Panthers, I obviously began with a roster that had some issues. I had to fix that entire offensive line, bring in some receiving talent, and make some other adjustments on defense. But for the most part, they had a front 7 that was already loaded. Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, Charles Johnson, Star Lotulelei, K'Wan Short, and then I had Cam Newton on offense, Kelvin Benjamin, Greg Olsen. That team is a lot more talented to begin with than I have this year with the Jaguars. I expect this to be perhaps the toughest franchise series I've ever done. And that's exactly what I want. I want a great challenge. It'll make it that much more enjoyable and rewarding if I can turn the Jaguars into a Super Bowl caliber team, because they have a long way to go to reach that point. To get to that point, I expect to be doing a lot of developing with the young players currently on the roster, as well as making some very important draft picks. The Jaguars also have a lot of cap room if I want to spend more money this year in free agency. I don't have to make a lot of key re-signings after my first year. There's Mercedes Lewis, Steven Wisniewski, Andre Branch, but year 2 is where we're really going to see what direction this team is going to be going in, because that's when Luke Joeckel, Tyson Alualu, Jonathan Cyprien, Dwayne Gratz, Denard Robinson, and Demetrius McCray, those guys all have expiring contracts after the 2nd season in the franchise. Up and down the roster, the Jaguars have young talent, and it's up to me to decide if the current players are the right ones in place to develop, or if I have to bring in my own draft picks. And you guys know I love to draft, and so it's going to take some pretty good performances to convince me you gotta stay on the roster when I'm always looking to get a bunch of draft picks and build this team with my vision in mind. Don't get me wrong, there are some good players on the roster I'm looking to build around. I'm excited to see players like Marquise Lee, who just made a great touchdown catch, Allen Robinson, Telvin Smith on defense, Jonathan Cyprien, Demetrius McCray, and after year 1 I get to use Dante Fowler, so I'm excited to see how he fits into my defense. And I talked about wanting to go to a 3-4 team this year. The Jaguars run a 4-3, but I may look to switch them to a 3-4 or go to more of a hybrid defense. It all depends on the pass rushers on the roster currently, how I feel about them, and if I can bring in some more pass rushers and potential 3-4 linemen. A hybrid look is a good possibility. I think having a guy like Dante Fowler gives you a lot of versatility, so you won't see those hybrid or 3-4 looks in the first year, but after I get my hands on the roster and get to draft after a season, we'll see what I have in store after we get going in the Jaguars franchise. Going back to offense now, is Blake Bortles going to be the answer at quarterback? His accuracy needs a lot of improvement, but Bortles has a strong arm and he can run, so there are some tools to work with. It's just whether he develops into the quarterback that I want him to be. And the same goes for the skill position players. They're not proven outside of Julius Thomas. Can Allen Robinson be a number 1 receiver? Can TJ Yeldon shoulder most of the running game workload? And can we actually get some interceptions as I get the user pick waiting for it in the end zone with Jonathan Cyprien? But last year, the Jaguars only picked the ball off 6 times. We gotta get some turnovers here in Jacksonville. You guys know that the interception is my favorite play in football, and 6 isn't gonna cut it for me. But I do like some of the talent there in the secondary, especially with Cyprien and Demetrius McCray. I know I keep coming back to defense, but let's go to offense once again. Last year, Blake Bortles had 11 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. His development is extremely critical in year 1 of the franchise. He was also sacked 55 times, and while I do like some of the talent on this offensive line, They face some really tough competition in the AFC South. I do expect to run the ball a good bit in the first season. TJ Yeldon and Denard Robinson could form a two-headed running attack for us, and we'll see how effective those running backs can be. Throughout this roster, one thing I noticed is a lack of quality depth. That isn't really a major surprise, as the Jaguars need to find quality starters as well, but I do expect to bring in a lot of younger backups to challenge the starters in place after the first season. So you could see a lot of roster turnover after only 1 year, which I think is really exciting, because that's when the franchise is the most fun for me. When I bring in my own players and they start the challenge for starting jobs and really have an effect on this team, that's when the team starts to feel mine and the franchise gets a lot more exciting. There should be a good combination of developing the talent already on the roster and me getting to do what I enjoy the most, drafting players and putting them in positions to make a big impact on the team. And I hope you guys are excited for the Jaguars franchise to kick off on Madden 16. Let me know down in the comments section, as I really should have scored on that run, by the way. That wasn't very good vision after I got into the second level. But anyway, let me know down in the comments section what you think of my choice to be the Jacksonville Jaguars in Madden 16. I think it's a perfect franchise team for me. It may not have the most exciting roster to begin with, but I expect it to be a very fun project. The Jaguars have won a combined 9 games over the last 3 seasons, and it's time to begin a new era in Jaguars football. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for the Madden 16 Jaguars franchise, and I will see you guys when the series kicks off. Follow me on Twitter to stay up to date on when to expect Season 1 to begin. But I'm looking to start this series as soon as I can, and I hope you guys are excited for it. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you next time.